this thing on? I don't know. It is? Good. Who knows? Okay, I don't have an agenda in front of me, so you gotta.
It is being taped.
This is being, we have consent.
We received consent so we can stream.
Student reps.
All right. Marcy, any announcements?
No announcements.
No announcements. All right. Moving on to the minutes. We have 3 minutes. Let's take them in one motion.
Motion to approve the December 1st, 4th, and 15 meeting minutes as presented.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any discussions? They looked good to me.
I gotta say it. I'm sorry, Wendy. One, Wendy. On section 6, student school board report, it said the tickets are 10 for 50,000. Well, it doesn't say 50,000. It's 50,00, so 5,000, I guess.
Let me pull it up. This is in the minutes or in my report?
Minutes.
Oh, okay.
Minutes.
Any other changes?
I think that's just supposed to be a dot,
Yeah.
like
Period.
the Europeans
Period,
do
not a
that.
comma?
Yeah.
So I renew my motion as amended with that to the minute.
And I will second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. We will not have a special presentation tonight.
No.
All right. Moving on to public comment. Plenty.
Oh.
What are you doing, Alice?
We get so excited.
Okay.
We're like, ooh, I don't.
Worst timing. All right. Superintendent report. Anything to add to your report, Marcy?
I don't have anything to add because it's on open enrollment, and we're talking about that later. I do want to just add that we have some dates that we have to figure out. So it's not on the agenda, but we need to do that before we leave. So public hearing on open enrollment. Martin just shared the budget hearing date and then the annual meeting date.
Do we want to talk about meeting dates now, later? Let's do it.
I thought Jenna and I had a conversation, but I could have made that up. I thought the 12th is where you landed. Dwayne had the 13th of March for the annual meeting. The 13th? Okay. Yep. All right, March 13th. The budget hearing date is February 5th, so that will just, our meeting's already posted, but we'll put in their language around that it'll start after the budget hearing ends. And then open enrollment, we can save that for when we talk about open enrollment.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Marcy, can you explain? So the budget's going to be like at 5 p.m. or
5:30. They have warned it.
5:30? Right before our meeting?
You will not be here? Oh, that's right. Okay. So we're going to have our next board meeting February 5th after the budget hearing.
Yes, yep.
Everyone good with that? Cool. And we discussed open enrollment.
On the
Dates.
action agenda, yep.
Sounds good. All right. Any questions for Marcy? Moving on to Dwayne.
So I had a couple of things that I put in my report that I'd give you some more info on. One of them is a handout that I gave you that looks like this. What that is just showing you that based on a piece of legislation that was passed last legislative session, we need to post, with the other things that we post for the annual meeting, 3 additional documents, 3 additional graphs, and a table. And so that shows you what those will look like when we post them. I put the language of the law in there so that you could see that it's very prescriptive as to what you have to post. The data is adjusted for inflation, which we've done. So it's cost per pupil adjusted for inflation, average teacher salary adjusted, total administrator salaries adjusted, and then a table that lists the 4 highest paid administrators in the district. So those will be posted when we do our posting of the warrant and the budget form, the DRA form. Those will go with it, and then we'll also, as we always do, we put all that stuff on the website. That will be part of what we post on the website.
And that's Bo's share.
Yes, it's your share of any SAU administrator that fits under the law. It's the share, Bo's share of the SAU cost.
Remind me, where is this physically being posted?
It will be, so physically, we post those documents at the elementary, memorial, and high school outside of the SAU office and at the town offices, and then we put them on the website.
So, when you look at this, I mean, I feel like it's giving some information, but not like a lot of context.
Correct. It gives, in
Are we
my
allowed
opinion,
to put-
no. You cannot put anything else on that graph.
Right.
That is all you can put. And the heading of the graph is also prescribed in the law. Now, if you want to put context or additional info, you can, but it has to be on a separate sheet in a separate posting document.
Is there any way that we could, so like, give the average for New Hampshire?
All of that information is publicly available. I think what Dwayne is doing here is giving exactly what is required under the law and not anything more. Also, one of the things that's required is that it's on 18 by 24 paper, which doesn't exist.
Well, there's, I don't know about the paper. No. No. It's like it'll be like an arts and crafts
It won't be in
project, which
color.
will be- But but Melanie, that's a good question. We always post, so for example, the budget hearing document, like the handout that we give, we have all kinds of cost per pupil information in there, graphs, so a lot of context, like us
Yeah.
compared to the state at every grade level and total. So all of that is still going to be out there. It's still going to be posted.
I just feel like
Yeah.
it might be, because nobody then goes to, at the very least, if we could make a QR code that said, do you want to see how we compared to the state, or something like that. So that way, they have context for it,
Oh.
because
We can talk, I mean, we can,
I think they'll see that our numbers are
Yep.
actually.
It's just, it's really hard because you're comparing apples and oranges in a lot of cases, right? And some districts are including principals, some aren't including principals. It is, again, a little bit of the wild, wild west of what is being included in there. So I don't think it's a true comparison.
yeah, I mean, there's a definition of, for this particular posting, there is a definition of what an administrator is in the law. It says an administrator shall be, and it lists a few things. If you go strictly by that definition, we have 2 administrators in the entire Bow School District. And I don't believe that's the intent of the law, but what is? So we included what is prescribed in the law and also the principals. Because I think when somebody thinks of an administrator in a district, they think, oh, the principal's an administrator.
Mhm.
But as Marcy said, everybody's kind of trying to do the best they can with it. So, but that's something that came out of the legislature.
I just think that you guys have done a lot, continue to do a lot to keep our numbers. I mean, like, we keep in mind our public
Yeah.
and budgets and how it affects the community. And I feel like if you just have this without even another paper with some context, they could sit there and say, well, that looks like a lot, versus, oh, wow, well, but it's actually around where everybody else is. Or
I hear I understand what you're saying, and I think if it was more of an
equal comparison.
yeah, then it would make sense. I think what we need to kind of go back to every time is a cost per pupil, right? That is measured in the same way across district to district, and that is a fair comparison.
Yeah.
And don't forget, we also have a budget hearing during which, if people really wonder, man, how is my district comparing financially? That's when you show up and you can ask that question, like, how much money does it cost per student? What do you spend on this? So, I mean, this is not just the only piece of information
No,
that a citizen
absolutely.
has.
Well, and we're starting to put together some stuff to have on the website
Yep.
too, so that it's more accessible and
Mm-hmm.
easy to find, so.
I actually agree with Melanie. I guess for one, I don't understand why it's not apples to apples. Why would somebody's teacher salary be? How is that different from district to district?
I think
How is
the-
the administrators.
I think the cost per pupil graph, I mean, is going to be in a vacuum because it's just your numbers. It's not comparing it to anything. It's just this graph that just sits out there. But that number and average teacher salary, everybody that I'm aware of is getting all of that data right off of the DOE website. So those will be kind of done the same way. I think the administrator, those last two documents, I think districts are doing that differently. Because the law isn't, in my opinion, the law is clear in a way of what it's defining an administrator as, but I think a lot of people are looking at that and saying, but that's not going to give you really any data. So people are doing it differently.
But differently meaning different people, not different. I mean, salary's a salary.
Different people,
Yeah,
yes.
but if you
Different
look at the
positions.
principals, they're less than,
So
No,
our two districts, so Bow and Dunbarton, they're obviously going to be done exactly the same because I'm doing it. But I think, I just talked to another BA today who has two districts, and he's including a couple things that I wouldn't, but he's not including one thing that I am. So it is, but again, it's a posting graph and a table. If there's going to be more technical advice on it, maybe that comes from the DOE, or maybe after the first year that everybody does it, the legislature will decide to basically make it, this is what you include in that, and make it very black and white. That would be great if they did that.
Another thing, Bryce, I mean, look at, for example, the 4 things that we list here. According to this list, the superintendent's salary, because it's split between Bow and Dunbarton. If you don't know that, you look at the number, I'm like, oh, the superintendent makes way less than anyone else. The devil's in the details.
Dunbarton's
You don't see it.
table is
But I
very
think-
weird looking.
but I think that if it is public knowledge, which it is, and we can go on the state and see,
Sure.
why can't we put together, so if we just take superintendent, assistant superintendent, and BA, that's it, and then compare that on our own, just with what we have, and see, I think when you have those numbers, like what we just did recently, I think that you see that we're right with everyone else. But if people don't see it and they just think, oh my gosh, like this graph, right? Like, I think
It doesn't
unless
tell you much.
I know, but what I'm saying is, unless you could, like, find some way to give it some context. And I know, like, they're not providing it right away, but I think it's very easy for some people to look at this and then say, we're paying administrators too much. I think that there might be a reason why they want this out like this. And because it makes it like people say we shouldn't be paying them that much. It has absolutely no information, really. So if we can provide on a separate piece of paper, like some sort of context, I know it's work to put that together, but I think that makes it so that they're not going, holy cow, this is crazy, and say, oh, this is average, or this is, right around where other people are. I just feel like,
Yeah, we can play around with it.
Yeah, I'm honestly,
can
I
play
really agree with Melanie. I think, frankly, I think it's an opportunity because I think left alone, we always have people that no matter how much we spend, it's too much. So left alone, this would be potentially ammunition for those folks. Whereas to me, it's an opportunity because it's kind of we have to show that And, what I would do is, take the cost per student. We have to do what we have to do, the one graph on the 19 by 8 or whatever it is. But then on the next page, we have 3 school districts. We put all 3 on the same page to show the comparison or what, the usual schools that we always compare to, because we do better than pretty much everybody else out there, it feels like. And I think it's really an opportunity to show that. But without showing it, I agree with Melanie. I think people are like, oh my God, this is insane how much these people make or whatever. But
Well, and
we know it's not.
And we just experienced this ourselves, right? Looking over things. And like, I think like getting all that information, making it really clear, people, I agree that this could be ammunition. That's a perfect way to put it.
So
We'll work on that.
I agree with everything you guys are saying, but how much work is that every month to have to pull all that data and put it in some sort
Oh,
of spreadsheet
no,
for you to
well,
do?
I
Like, is it a
mean-
lot more work for you to do?
No, I mean, this is just knowing where to look for things. And
Because this has to be done every month, right?
nope.
Oh, I thought it
this
was every
is-
school board
This
meeting.
is nope.
No.
This is a once a year posting that goes with
Oh, okay.
all of our other posting.
Oh, okay.
Documents.
I was thinking it was every month. Never
I
mind.
think the thing for us is that when I say it, know where to look, I think is important. But I think of SAUs that have had turnover and haven't had the same people in certain positions. It could be really, really hard to do the administrator section of this. The average teacher salary and the cost per pupil, it's a bunch of clicks. And so
Right.
once that we have it set up, which we do now, next year it'll just be one data point. We're taking one off the top, we're putting one in, nowhere to look for the CPI, for the inflation adjustment that you have to make to it. So it's something, but it's not this onerous thing once you have it done. I mean, we can, and the law does allow you to provide context. It's right in there. It can't be with these. You have to do it after.
But
You
we
have to
do
it
that.
on a
Well,
separate-
maybe not for administrators.
But we
we do it for price per pupil.
we
every year,
could
right?
make
It's
it
in the-
easier to find, and I think I agree. And so that's something we can do. Totally.
Put it on another piece of paper, even if it was
After it.
a small.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep, you can do it after it. You can't do it with these. These have to be the way that they're presented
Yeah.
right now. But you can do it in a
Subsequent.
separate.
if it was
Sheet.
on a bulletin board though,
It,
can it be like,
look, I think
Lower?
the old way of posting things, I don't know, I joke about it, but, that is from a bygone time. Me going to the elementary, middle, and high school and putting a bunch of pieces of paper up on a window is, nobody looks there. They all go to the website and look, which is where you should go and look. So this will be on there, and we'll just put right with it, or could put right with it, the things that you guys have brought up, and put some context to it and say, this is what, when you adjust for inflation, this is what the state looks like. This is what some neighboring districts look like. It's easy to get average, teacher salary. The admin part, that'll take a little bit. I'll have to play around and figure out how we're going to do that. But that's something that we can do as well. It'll just be more information, another link, another thing that's just going to be out there that hopefully people.
How last
You know.
minute can you do it? I say that because you can just take it from everybody else's annual meeting that has their annual meeting in advance.
So this has to be posted in the same time frame as when you post what we call post the meeting, when you post the warrant, post the budget form. So this will happen after the budget hearing, but in advance, approximately a month in advance of the actual vote of the annual meeting. That's when I run around and do all that posting. So I wait until the board and the budget committee finalize the budget and all of the warrant articles, and everybody votes on them, and then we post everything. And so that's when this will happen. That's when this stuff will go out.
I have one question though. So I'm just thinking about when my kids did BAC, and we would go to the elementary school, and they'd be like running around, whatever, and I'd just kind of be walking around a little bit around the gym type stuff. And I could see people like seeing this and going, is there any way we could even just have like a little piece of paper and say, please see our website for, state comparisons or for more information, for
With the posting, with the stuff
Yeah,
that I post,
when you,
you're not really supposed to do that.
You can post the, I'm sorry, you can post the text of the bill. It's right here.
I mean, I think it's a very fine line between posting information, which is what we do, and, you know, trying to sway somebody to vote a certain way. And we try very hard not to do that. So we just when you post the meeting and post all that stuff, you're just posting information for people so that they know when the meeting is, what they're going to vote on, and what the numbers look like.
So I think for the actual physical posting, we probably stick to the bill and what's supposed to be there, and maybe on the website is where we can elaborate and do some more of the graphs with some comparisons, so that if someone really is going to dig or ask questions, that information is there. And I think you're right. Most people nowadays are going to go to websites to look at things more so than going
I
back
agree.
to the elementary school or the middle school where some posting is. So I
We're,
think that hopefully will satisfy people. I think also, you know, when we do the annual meeting and have all of the slides, we'll have all that information and can
Yeah.
give that context and that description at that meeting. So, I mean, that's where we see the most of the people from the town showing up at that meeting, and that gives us an opportunity to educate people then.
we're in the midst of, we talked about this last month, but working on a data dashboard. And so maybe not within that data dashboard, but it could be there in the same spot as it, where we have student information and then we can have staff and administrative information.
So, so if this is okay, I'm glad the context thing came up, because that was, you know, that's allowed, and we kind of want to do that, I think. So we'll play around with that, and I'll send you kind of what we come up with and kind of that supplemental page of additional information that's allowed under the bill. And you can see what that looks like and get some input and stuff. Nope. Nope, this is, nope, this will just be posted with all of like the warrant and the budget form. Now, if you want to put it up during the annual meeting, you can do that, but we put
Yeah,
it up
that's
with
what I would do.
more, like,
I would agree with that, putting it with more context.
so we can do that. You're not required to do anything other than post this with the materials for the annual meeting. That's the only requirement that you have, but it is a requirement, and we do have to do it.
And I think at the annual meeting, maybe pointing out, like, this was posted as part of this, now we're gonna give the context, the background, so that people really can compare and see that these are the things that we're talking about versus what you might have seen, will be helpful, but I don't think we necessarily need to post it, but I think maybe when we do our other graphs, we can say, this is what was posted, and then this is really what this means in context with what we do every day.
Great, thank you. That's no, that's good. No, I actually, I've talked to a few of my colleagues, and it is, I mean, it's out there. People are trying to work their way through it, and yeah, no, that was good. A couple other things for me that, you know, we had last year, we had that authorization for solar at the Memorial School Elementary School. Just to update on that, just a couple days ago, I think it was, got a redo of the lease agreement for the Memorial School part of that project. So we're going to work through that, see where that all is, but that's the update on solar. For our project, our portion of the project, there is the landfill project. In order to tie the landfill into the grid, that has to go across school district land. That's specifically out by the gravel or the dirt parking lot. So that's being worked on, how that's going to look and things. We've provided some input on, you know, what was the original conceptual design. So we provided that to the solar company. So at some point, they're going to need to try to get approval through the planning board and through the town process, because that's a major, really large project. So we'll just keep you updated on where that is, but that's kind of where that is, kind of in a holding pattern, I think, right now. They're working with the town. So, and then in terms of, in my report, I mentioned that, if you remember, right before the holidays, we did a total re-inventory of the elementary school, to retest all the locations there, water test all the locations there. So we got those results back. We did 86 sites are now in that building, which is a lot of sites. We had 19 come back slightly over the threshold, which is a very low threshold, but slightly over the threshold. And so we're going to work on addressing those 19. We've identified 10 of those locations already that we're just going to add an additional filter to, localized filter, which we've done in some locations here at the high school, and that's worked great. So we're going to do that in at least 10 of those locations and then figure out the remaining 9. The other 9 are in locations that students just don't go to or don't have access to. But so that was good for us. It's way better than it was pre-renovation, pre-addition. So yeah, we're going to keep working on that.
Can you send us those results?
I think they're posted. I think they're on the state website.
They are?
I
The
think.
last time I checked, it only had 1, 2, and 3, unless this replaced the third one with the new
I can
results.
check, but usually those get posted. We don't usually post them. I think the state
Yeah.
just posts them. So I thought they were up there, but I'll check.
Okay.
I'll check.
They're up there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
They're up there. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Any questions for Dwayne? Hearing none, we're going to move on.
Martin, can I just interrupt for one minute? I meant to tell you these bags that you have in front of you, it's School Board Appreciation Month, and so Beth put these together for our school board members. So those are for you to take home.
You guys are open.
Bryce is digging right in.
I don't know if there's any food there, but the other thing I wanted to share with you is we had shared a while ago that Owen and I met with Bedford School District around when we were talking about school rankings. And one of the things that they did was meet with their alumni. And so I just wanted to highlight that Matt and Kate Kulak's Director of School Counseling put together an awesome alumni panel yesterday. No, was it yesterday or the day before? Thank you. The days run together. But so our very own Trevor Abel came back. He has a full beard. It's like he was one of the panelists. So 5 different students, 5 different alumni with varying school experiences, choices from local to all the way in South Carolina or Indiana. And it was really, really good. So they had the junior and senior classes come in for, half hour, 45 minutes, and then freshmen and sophomores come in and just talk about everything you can kind of imagine. So I thought that was a really successful event, and I know that they were excited to share. We're really grateful for all the experiences that they had here and seeing, especially the ones who are going to really diverse colleges or universities, seeing what they have access to that a lot of their peers didn't have access to. So it was a really good event.
Was this the first time you guys did this?
Yes, I don't remember if they've done it in the past. Yeah,
Sounds like you're going to do it going forward.
I hope so. Yeah, it was really, really good.
Awesome. Okay. You're up.
Oh, and they hammered home dual enrollment, which I really liked.
So I don't have anything to add, but I think I mentioned the preschool relocation in my board report. So I just wanted to say, having a lot of conversations and making sure everyone, has had their voice heard about that is really important. And at this particular juncture, it's time to get excited about this. So I think we're all looking forward to that relocation and what that's going to bring. I know Lori has enthusiasm for it as well. So we're circling the wagons, making sure everybody knows how that's going to go and celebrating that move. So I just wanted to highlight that too in a qualitative way and offer an opportunity if you guys ask any questions.
Can you remind me where in the elementary school they were going to move to?
Yeah, sure. So there's a room number.
It's right where it was, where originally. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, so when you get to
114?
the cafeteria,
Yeah.
and then there's that little hallway. There's
Oh,
the
okay,
nurse's
yeah.
office,
Yep,
and
yep.
then there's another bigger classroom in the back over there. It has an exit where the playground can be, and
It's
a
the
big
new and
space.
improved space where they used to be before, because there's a wall down. And so it'll give them a more space to organize
Okay.
good learning areas and related service areas for the kids all in one spot while being right next door to the nurse.
Yeah, so it's obviously not set up right now for preschool, but when we get that going, maybe you guys can come by and take a look.
Well, they used to have like a little door that just went out. They had their own separate.
Yep,
little-
they
It'll
still
be the
will.
same.
little playground.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't it?
Vaguely
Do you
remember that.
remember
Yeah, vaguely. Many years ago. Cool. Any questions? No? Moving on to Director of Curriculum.
Just have a couple things to add. Our professional learning plan was finally approved by the state. They're really backlogged, so it did take a year, but it's good to go. So it's completely approved all the way around. Just a quick update on the data dashboard. We have some really pretty exciting, interesting information, and interspersed throughout there is cost per pupil, and I think the more people dig into the data and the more they see that cost per pupil compared to the state, it's just a no-brainer to me that they're doing really great things here, and it's a good bang for the buck. I mean, just today we were looking at how long teachers here have been teaching in their whole career. Unfortunately, you have to go into their files and find their resumes to get that data because the state website isn't as accurate, but that's going to be really fascinating and exciting information too. And just little things like that. So I'm pretty excited about it and looking forward to getting that up and running. Beth is doing some designing around what that'll look like, and we'll work with Connor and Chris to make sure that we've got a good spot on the website, and we'll have that up before February break, so it'll be ready to go. I think that's it. Yeah, unless there's any questions anybody has. Great.
Any kind of information that highlights how well we're doing financially, I think would go a long way.
Cost per pupil.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, if we have it up before February break, is that something we could put on? No, March is the annual meeting, never mind.
Oh, for here? Sure, yeah.
But we could have it as part of the annual meeting.
Oh.
We actually talked about that today during our admin team meeting. If that's something that we could, kind of quickly showcase, that would be nice.
Well, I agree. I think that would be a great service. People have been wanting this information, so we listen to you, and here you go. I think it's the perfect time to do it.
All right, thank you.
Any questions? If not, moving on to our student school board reps.
I don't think there's anything really much to add. I mean, yeah.
What did you think of the alumni panel?
It was pretty good. I heard a lot of people say that they expected it to be like people who are like further on in their careers kind
Yeah.
of a thing, and instead of like people who were just recently graduated.
Yep.
Maybe that's just something to think about for next time.
No, I think that being our first one,
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense. But you're right. I think having
Yeah.
people further out would be interesting.
Yeah, like it made sense because it was like they were like closer to us in terms of like graduation. But like just like to see like where people have been like 5 years from now
Yeah.
and what they did like over time, I guess.
Yeah. Ava, what'd you think?
Hearing about what they saw as beneficial, taking into like from Bow High School into their college experience, that was really interesting to see. Because then you can kind of model your path based on which student you almost align to in that. Because since they had multiple backgrounds, you could kind of almost see yourself doing what one of the
Right.
students did with like slight variation. So it kind of put it in perspective for you.
Yeah. One of the things that they talked about is, what did you wish you had done? What do you regret not doing while you were here? So that was interesting to hear for sure. I'm glad you liked it.
Can we get some of that information? I think it would be interesting for us too to kind of know like what have we set up for as a board to see like what have we all like set up that they really appreciate.
Mhm.
Just to kind of know.
Sure, we can work on something. I think if I were to answer very quickly, it would be all of the opportunities, be it clubs, CRTC, athletics, music, performances. There was a lot of talk about performances. As an example, Trevor's now in the marching band. he wishes we had a marching band here, but obviously our size, that doesn't make sense. But all of those opportunities, you know, academics is one thing, but it's all those extra things that they have the opportunity to do. And I think it was Cole Cochran who said he would just load up on anything you could do, any extracurricular that you could do. Just do it, try it. You never know kind of what you're gonna like. So that was my big takeaway. I'm sure Matt has more information too, but it was great.
What was one thing that you said that compared to their peers, that they feel like they got
More opportunity.
just basic
Yep, more opportunity. Yeah.
And it was also with academics too, with the dual enrollment. That was really stressed as well, how like beneficial financially it is. So they were really grateful for being able to get ahead because they're like now several mentioned that they don't have to take like the core college classes almost, and they can go further into their field faster.
I'm glad you took that away. I
Yeah.
hope a lot of people did. I bet your mom's glad you took that away too, because I really think every single one of them brought it up at some point, the dual enrollment. So it's really great.
I do have one question for you guys. You guys talked about the poetry out loud and that there was even a tie for third place. But who were the winners? Do you remember? No, I don't mean to put you
No,
on
no.
the
I realized to like put like names in reports. I thought we like.
Yeah, we don't normally put them in reports,
Okay,
but
yeah. Am I like good to say it?
yep.
Paige Rabelais, a freshman.
Yeah.
She won first place. Then.
Alex.
Yep.
Yeah.
names are brothers.
Alex Graham Binder. I know she placed some.
Second place.
Yeah, she might have gone second. And then I think Drew.
Yeah.
He's a freshman.
Drew Tilbury
Alicia Johnson. I'm pretty sure that's what her name is.
Okay.
She's also a freshman. So it was a lot of the younger.
In front of the entire student body.
Yeah.
I
Could
know
never do
takes
that.
A
Yeah.
lot of courage. Well, congratulations on behalf of the board to all of those students.
All right, any other questions for our student members? If not, moving on to the district administrator, starting with Lori.
It's a quick month when we come back. We're back into our January routines and have started our assessments while going back into our learning routines, and seems to be going well. Most of the individual assessments that are one-to-one with people, we've had a huge focus on at this time so that we're not interrupting intervention services. So at the elementary school, all this will go into report cards that go home on February 17th. But in the meantime, we're also just getting ready for fun because we're going to head up to Winter Wellness and we're going to have an Olympic theme. And we're looking forward to carrying that theme through the end of January into February.
Any questions for Lori?
I just have one question, but I don't know if it's for you, Lori, or for Beth. But I was reading that Dunbarton's doing 5 weeks of wellness days, and BES is doing 1.
Because Dunbarton goes to skiing on the afternoons. So on Wednesday afternoons, a portion of their students go to Pat's Peak in a ski program, and so they have the other portion of students. So they've always done 5. I've worked in those systems. Our ski program does not interrupt the school day, so we take a whole day. As a bonus, we look to see what worked in Dunbarton, what didn't, so we either tweak it. So we appreciate them supporting us in that way.
That's an interesting thing. Does that count as an instructional day when they go on Wednesdays? Wow. Why can't we have an instructional day on the mountain? I'm just joking.
Did you see how, like, what are they called, EFAs, the educational money, how much money has gone to the ski hills from that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Education.
Folks buy season passes for their kids with EFA money. Anyway, any other questions for Lori? If not, we'll move on to Adam.
Just like Lori, I don't have a lot to add in that we've just been back for a few days and it's early in January. December wrapped up really well. It was a great month, as I kind of wrote about in the report. We're gearing up for the next couple of months of winter we start looking down the road at like SAS prep and whatnot, where we introduce modular assessments into our classrooms. That always begins in January. So that's kind of one thing we're beginning to think about as a faculty. Kids are enjoying winter. I mean, we've already had the basketball teams. I don't know if they won today. They were away. They both won on Tuesday, so that's good. They're off to good starts this season, which is excellent. And then just as Lori mentioned at the elementary school, we do our semester 1 report cards. January 23rd, our semester closes. So we're kind of also gearing up and prepping for our first round of reporting out. So those are kind of the big things on the horizon. Spelling bee in a couple of weeks, so 22nd I'll have a little more to report on there. But otherwise, we've settled back into school routine nicely.
Any questions for Adam?
I don't have a question, but I have a comment.
Sure.
I wanted to let all, the administrators and the staff know, like, what a phenomenal job with those concerts, the music concerts. It's just so impressive. It really is. It's so impressive what the music teachers put together and everything. I just think we have like a really stellar program.
Yeah, I wrote about it, but I turned to Matt after that show when we were done and the folks had all left the auditorium, and it was just he and I in here. We were the last two to leave this room. And I did say to him, you guys are back. Like, this is pre-COVID, 2018. It was really impressive. The 7th and 8th grade band sounded like a high school band. The 6th grade band sounded like a 7th and 8th grade band. They did a really great job. Chorus did a great job. It was cool to see. It was fun. So I agree with you. Thank you for sharing that.
It's nice that always, like, to see the administrators always there and supportive, so that's wonderful.
It's fun to go to.
I don't have a question, but more so a comment from my 5th grader, who was very displeased that on her first day back, she had to do STAR testing in math. Like, day one, bam, right back.
Yep.
She did not like that. She could have eased her in a little.
Yeah, my 2 6th graders also complained. So, yeah.
I can share that feedback with the teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rude awakening.
Yeah, that's right. Hit the treadmill running, I guess. Yeah.
I softened it by giving them gum to have during it. Because one of you guys told them once upon a time that mint helps you do better. So that's how they try and get gum out of me. But
There you go.
so
There's always an angle.
No, not in my house.
I have a gum that's actually good for your teeth. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. Any other questions for Adam? If not, we'll move on to the high school. Matt,
Things are good. I don't have anything else to add.
we'd like to hear that. Any questions for the world that's good?
Can I just say too, also, we went and saw Anne Frank, and they did such a great job. I could tell that they were all really took in that information about what that story's about, and it was really powerful for them. So just wanted to say that was phenomenal. It's well done.
All right. Moving on to IT.
Yep. I don't have anything else to add other than IT's preparing for a cybersecurity audit.
Whoop, whoop. That sounds very exhilarating.
It is.
All right. Any questions for Chris? Hearing none, we'll move to Mike's report. Any additions or questions we should pass on to Mike?
I do have one thing about the girls' ice hockey. I'd like to, I know that we had a big group now and we have a big group now, but if we look, and Bryce, you might be the better one to ask about this because you kind of are involved a little bit with the younger do we still have a lot of girls playing hockey? Is it still growing, or is it just some one pocket?
No, I don't. Well, I just think that it's noteworthy that we have 12. Another school has 3. Those 3 are seniors, and the other school I think has 2 or 3. So no one, the sponsor team is not necessarily talking about that, but just something to have in the back of our minds. There are some more students coming up. This freshman class has the most kids, so I'm not. I know Mike. We were talking about it just recently, so he's going to take a look and see what our numbers are.
Yeah, because I didn't know if we did want to do that, because I looked at a picture of, the team, and my daughter's a freshman, so I know
Mhm.
almost all the girls, and I was thinking, is this just one group, or
No.
are there other big?
There are. When we initially did the survey 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, I think we went back, if I remember right, all the way to like 3rd grade just to see where kids were at, because you don't want to start a program if you don't have anything coming behind. So I don't think we're in a position to have our own team, but we definitely have kids coming.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Any other notes for Mike? Nope. All right. Moving on to multi-tiered systems coordinator. Any questions we should pass on to Beth? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to the action agenda, manifests and vouchers. I will entertain a motion.
Approve the manifest. No. For the period ending November 30th, 2025, in the amount of $2,948,789.80.
Do we have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? Ayes have it. Moving on. Personal actions, none? No personal actions? Nope. Here, still need to sign this. Let's see. Policy adopt. A whole bunch of them.
Whole bunch. Yep, those we did our first read on December 15th.
I will entertain a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Looking at our policy people. Okay. All right. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Ayes have it. Moving on to open enrollment warrant article.
Okay. So you saw the draft language that we sent out. I don't remember when, but when we sent it out, I also shared with you the article just so you had a sense of where some other school districts were headed. We had our Dunbarton board meeting last night, and where we are at with Dunbarton is similar to Sauhegan. Their language of allowing 0 in, 0 out, and a separate appropriation for $0. So that's where they want to be. If you're looking for our recommendation, that's where we think we should be. I think what this does, the tricky part is obviously going to be able to try to explain this to the public. It's really a protective measure so that we're not stuck with a bill because we didn't have a warrant article that said we weren't sending any students out. I do anticipate that buys us a year until next legislative season, when I'm sure there will be amendments to it based on things like this, 0 in, 0. And there are schools who are accepting other students. I haven't seen a school yet who has a warrant where they're allowing any out. And so that would be our recommendation, is 0, 0, and a 0 appropriation.
Now, we could say people can come here and we just take the money, right?
You could. I think the 0, 0 for me is kind of a fundamental disagreement with open enrollment. Not that there's anything wrong with open enrollment, but that the way it's being addressed by the state, it's creating massive equity issues across the state. And I don't want, what is going to inevitably happen is school districts are going to be pitted against one another, because some school districts are going to say, sure, you can enroll, and then send a bill to a neighboring district or district an hour away, because that's happening. And it hasn't been budgeted for, and that town may have already said, no, we're not doing that. And so what we think is that that appropriation article is what would trigger no means no, meaning the voting body said, no, you are not allowed to spend any money on students leaving under open enrollment.
I like the idea of this being sort of a defensive measure, in quotation marks, for 1 year. We know this is going to get picked up this
Yes.
year, and the loopholes, various loopholes, are going to be fixed probably.
Hopefully.
Will they be fixed appropriately? Who knows? But
Mhm.
we'll have to just deal with it next year again.
Right. Right.
What do you guys think?
No. Once you voted on, I mean, if you were to change it, if there was someone who, say there was a petition warrant article of someone wanting to say, we want you to allow 10 students out, right? So yes, could it change? But it would have to come before this body in order to do that.
So a future school board can choose in a given year, this year's warrant, I want to talk about open enrollment again.
Yes.
So let's do 10-10 or whatever.
Yes. You do have to have a separate public hearing for this. So that's one of the things that we will need to schedule, and it has to be within 15 and 30 days of the annual meeting.
I really feel terrible for Pittsfield. I mean, I see what happened. Pittsfield's just like us, just a typical high school. They didn't agree to let these 8 kids, I think it is, go to another school, and all of a sudden they get a bill for 8 kids. I mean, think if we got a bill for 8 kids times $20,000 out of nowhere, right? And their district is already struggling to begin with. So, you know, it seems horrific what's going to happen to that school district. Not to mention, it's not the most sought after school district, and
Right.
who knows what their future is. But taking a step back, so roughly our students are, I'm just rounding up, but 20,000 per student. And so would we have, let's assume we weren't 0-0, let's say we're 10-10 or whatever. Would we have to take a kid in, say, kindergarten, and we'd have to keep them all the way through, or could we limit what grades they would be
You
allowed
can
to
limit
come?
everything. That's the other piece with this is you can say just high school. You could say just seniors. You can say just anything. So Conval, it's going to be for high school, and it's just for students who are interested in becoming proficient in German. Bedford. Bedford is only for high school and for students who can get into their IB program. So you can literally set it up that way. You can also, which this doesn't happen anywhere else in public education, you can say no to a special education student, which is discriminatory. So it's just, it's set up for, again, massive inequities.
Because when you think of our elementary school, breaking it down, right? You have, let's say, in my opinion, roughly 5 kids means another teacher, right? I mean, if we have 25 kids, we're going to add a teacher, and it drops it down to typically 20. But 5 kids at 20,000 is 100,000. Our average teacher pays 70,000. Like, pretty quickly, you get upside down if you allow any level of openness like that, because you have to hire more teachers, and I mean. It helps you on all those fixed costs, but, you know, you can't just rely on the fixed costs.
Right.
And what do you do if next year they don't want to send the kid anymore, but you are stuck with the employee that you hired?
Exactly. There's all sorts of those examples that need to be ironed out.
And I would say we're probably in the least complicated district, maybe in the state.
We are. I mean, every year, every summer, Dwayne or I or Jess will field calls around, well, it's open enrollment. I want to send my, Concord student to you or Franklin student to you, and having to explain, no, you can't just pay tuition to us and we'll take your student. So we're definitely sought after, in that way by some families. So we don't have the same issues a Franklin will have or Pittsfield will have. I mean, those are schools, literally, Pittsfield, that you could see enrollment being so low that they're forced to close. And then where do those kids go? Especially the way that the legislation is written, where school districts can pick and choose who they want. So then you're left with students who have significant needs, and where do they go? Out of district. And Pittsfield's still responsible for that. So it's...
And you only get 80% pay, right?
80% is the floor. It's just the floor. Yeah.
The other piece that I wanted to add, piggyback off of that, is there are districts whose enrollments are going down, and so that's sort of the driving factor for them, right? Like, we don't have that issue. So just considering like that motivating factor that exists for those school districts doesn't exist in this instance. So it'd be more like Martin saying, we just take your money and take your kids. Like, that kind of vibe isn't a necessity.
I mean, where this started, so Prospect Mountain, they're kind of the poster child for this. They accept students because they have this building in there that the goal was to fill it. They voted not to send any. So they're taking in kids, but they are not sending any.
And I don't feel like we have a lot of capacity to begin with. Certainly not the elementary school.
No.
I don't think at any of these schools, I don't feel like we have like empty rooms.
We don't have empty rooms. They are. Yep.
Right.
Right.
Right. So if it were ever to be considered, you could say just high school. You could say French or, whatever. It doesn't have to be open across the board. So like Kearsarge, their warrant article is specific to their high school. Conval is, Bedford is. The Franklin is high school, maybe middle school, but no. I haven't seen one yet that says we are willing to send students.
I think something else to consider too, in the idea of taking kids or having them leave, that the resident school district at this juncture and most of this legislation is still responsible for special education services. So kind of keeping that in mind, that not only would you be expecting the 80% tuition reimbursement from a district, but also the full 100% of those special ed costs, and whether or not you can get that money reimbursed to you, I think is a factor in that thing too. If you take a student and their district did one of these appropriation bills that said they can't pay you, like, so now we're managing what kids we take. I think that could be complicated. Also, there was a piece about if you get more requests, more applications than you can take in, you have to go into a lottery, which would be like us managing a charter school lottery where they get that same kind of thing. And I think that could be an issue that Bow might face, having more applicants than they have space for.
So, you need to decide, right? If one, you're going to have the warrant, and then what you want on there for language. Obviously, more will be talked through at the public hearing, and then we just need to set a date for that public hearing.
Can you clarify one more time, I guess, for me? So once they're in, they're always in, or could you basically kick a kid out after a year if we, now we decide we're going to take 0 from out of district?
You could change because the LEA remains where the student resides. So if a development comes in and you have a massive influx of students, and the year prior you allowed students at the elementary school, the board could vote to put it on the warrant to no longer do that.
Another piece to consider is that it's not even just by building, it can also be by grade level.
Yep.
So like if a family decided to send their kid somewhere for first grade, but that same district they sent their child to doesn't have anybody in second grade, then you would need to move your child to a different school that has a second grade availability, or go back to your public school in your resident school district. So
Right.
these are just factors to consider, like when you talk about this as a whole.
Think of it like Dunbarton. So say Dunbarton said, yep, we're going to take students, and a student comes in 6th grade, they're in 7th grade. They don't just get to automatically come, well, it would be 7th grade. They don't just get to automatically come here in 7th grade, right? They have to figure that out. And if Bo is saying, no, we're not taking any, then they would have to go somewhere else.
I mean, I think we're kind of specially situated because of our Hooksett arrangement. I mean, we have some experience with this
Yep,
over the years.
we do.
With the Hooksett lottery.
Yep.
And I don't think do we have any kids from Hooksett?
9.
9 total.
Yeah.
7 here.
And we do have some experience sometimes where school districts who have a student with unique needs that we can meet sometimes, like some conversations can sometimes happen around that too. But that's, again, all about local school districts working collaboratively with each other to support each other and making sure kids' needs are being met. And hearkening back to what Marcy said about the way that this is all happening is sort of pitting districts against each other in a lot of ways. And so just keeping that in mind too, that we do at times make decisions, like, you have best interest determination and all these different ways to support kids and support families who aren't having good experiences in their school districts. And up until now, that's been a collaborative opportunity between superintendents, and that opportunity is not going to be there anymore when this all happens. So something to think about.
So, but if we've been willing to take, I think it's like 3 or 4 Hooksett kids pretty consistently, as long as I can remember, why would we not just not do that and just do more of this open thing instead? 3 or 4 kids total. Like, what's the difference?
Well, we have an MOU with,
But it's year to year, so we wouldn't sign it again come June, and we have so few kids anyway. Why wouldn't we make it more all inclusive as opposed to if we seem to have the capacity for 3 or 4 Hooksett, why don't we have the capacity for 3 or 4 kids elsewhere? And I know it's complex, and I know as I sat down here, I was like, yeah, of course, 0, 0, but it's hard to justify when we say we'll take 3 or 4 Hooksett kids and we only get 1 or 2. We're saying we have the capacity.
yeah, I mean, that would ultimately be a decision of the board. And the board would have to establish what that criteria is and what your capacity is.
I think I would say on the Hooksett thing, the thing for me is that the Hooksett voters and the Hooksett board have put in place something that their whole town is aware of. We're going to provide an opportunity for choice. We're going to negotiate with a bunch of districts and provide that choice. We are a party to that. We don't have to be, but we choose to be a part of that. And so this board negotiates with that board, and they have the authority of their town. I feel like open enrollment is different because the taxpayers in the community have no say. As you said for Pittsfield, it was a unilateral placement that was made by a parent, and the bill goes to the taxpayer with no oversight, no decision-making, no vote. And I think that's the difference with Hooksett and our MOU with them, is that there is a process that took place that the voters are aware of, and the voters choose to participate in that and pay. Now, again, we don't have to participate with Hooksett. We can just say, yeah, we're not going to do that anymore, and that's fine. But the Hooksett board, through their approval that they've gotten, negotiates a bunch of agreements, and the voters in their town agree, yep, we're going to pay for that. And I just think this is just so different.
It is different. I mean, one of the things that we talked about, if there's actually a school who says we are willing to send someone, that's different, right? Because again, their community knows about it, they voted on it. We are not going to enroll students who are coming from another district where their district has said no, their community has said no. It's just not, it's not right.
I don't think there's a lot of answers on this, only because, I mean, this statute has existed for a long time. Like, this isn't a brand new thing that just got passed. This has been in place for a number of years, but no one's really done it. And it was written and it was part of the charter school statute. That's where it came about, and then there was a carve out, and this kind of got put over here, and frankly, when a certain district had an area agreement and the area agreement kids their voters decided to go to a different district. And that's where this kind of the genesis was. So it's been in place for a long time. There's a lot of parts of it that are very foreign to public school. I mean, Marcy mentioned, if you read the statute, you can kind of decide you can be very specific on what kids you're going to accept, and that's totally foreign to public school. It's if you show up and you're a resident, come on in, and we'll figure it out, or try to figure it out. And this is not that. And so I don't know how that impacts that, but I do think this provides hopefully a year where you kind of don't have to worry about it, because I do think there's going to be the potential where this might be a moot point, because there might be universal open enrollment. That could pass, and if that passes, that's a whole different discussion that we're going to need to have, that every district's going to need to have on how we manage that. And I don't have many answers for that either, unfortunately.
So, do we need to vote on the position of the board tonight on this? No. Okay.
No.
Because it does sound like there's some more discussion and thinking that we'll have to do internally.
Yeah, and I think too that what eventually, like you do with every other warrant article, you are going to have to vote whether to recommend it or not, and put it on the warrant so that the voters vote on it. And you're going to have to do that at some point. But to not shut the door tonight, to have the public hearing, will allow you to hear from other people about it, points of view, whatever, and then make that decision. I think for me, the one thing that I never want to do is have what happened to some of those other districts where there's been no say, no budget, and here's a bill.
Mm-hmm.
This would prevent that. At least we hope it would prevent that. I mean, obviously it has never been challenged, but this would prevent that you're going to get this unexpected bill because a student went to an open enrollment school, and here's the bill for a minimum of 80% of their cost per pupil, which is, as you say, can be $15,000, and there's cost per pupils in the state that are in the 40s. That'd be a $30,000 bill. Now, that's what we're trying to prevent happening to your, the tax-paying public that you represent.
So a date for the public hearing has to be between 15 and 30 days before the annual meeting. So the week of the 16th would be a good one. Yeah, Dunbarton's hearing is on that Wednesday, the 18th.
Just keep in mind that that's also the start of our vacation right before that. So if we did it at the end of the week, that might not be.
I'm out of town the 16th
Right.
and 17th, so I can't do 16 or 17.
Dunbarton's doing the 18th, so
Mhm.
you guys will be there.
Mm-hmm.
So 19?
I can do the 19th.
So, isn't it the 16th?
So last day to post everything for the meeting, the warrant, the budget form, the thing that we talked about tonight, is February 26th. So it would be fine to do that. usually we do that earlier because in absent an open enrollment thing, we would have done that very close to the end of the budget hearing because you would have taken your vote and everything would have been sent. We'll just have to delay that and post it. Yep. 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 So we would, we would post it very soon after the hearing, the open enrollment hearing.
Does 5:30 work on the 19th?
That's fine for me.
Okay.
Okay. We're good with that discussion?
Yes.
All right. Moving on to public comment. One more time. All right. Moving on to board, committee, and delegates. Administrators, feel free to leave. You're welcome to stay.
Thank you.
Mr. Oslo, a quick question about the budget. Is there a meeting coming up this week or next week?
For the town, for the school budget?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Jess-
we're
Jess
meeting
is looking.
Monday at 5:30.
Okay. Yeah, the budget committee.
Budget committee.
That's the
Is that public?
Yeah.
No, okay.
It's going to be exhilarating. Bring a snack. It's going to take a while.
I'll be.
Budget committee. He wants to come to the budget committee meeting.
Oh, that's, no, but I think you would like it. I think you'd be interested. You know what? He could, so for the annual meeting though, too, they're presenting again this year, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to? Would Ava? Well, you know what? I say anybody who leaves is we can choose them to do it.
I mean, we did it last year, right? Yeah.
They did,
So
they
we
presented. Yeah. They did a wonderful job.
All right, we're almost there, guys. Policy. We rolled through it tonight. Great job. Negotiations. Rolled through it last year. Outstanding. Budget. We met with the town yesterday. It took 3.5 hours. We went through the binder once.
Oh
I
my
don't think
gosh.
we're done just yet. We're gonna go line by line. Their binder, which is half the size of our binder.
They always.
Well, we have new members that are really interested in understanding how municipal budgeting works. So there's a lot of education also going on. We talked a lot about insurance, but the liability insurance of the town, can we put this out for bid? I don't think we ever considered putting it out for bid, but we're probably going to get the same question.
We've talked about that in our meeting. Jenna brought it up last meeting, I think.
There you go. Already forgot about it. I'm sorry, but good. We're ahead of the curve. But anyway, the school was supposed to meet on the 5th, but the town did not warn the meeting, so we weren't allowed to meet. So we're going to meet this coming Monday.
Some of us were there.
And you have to have it all wrapped up
Before the 5th.
of February.
I'm low key concerned that we're not going to make it.
6, 7.
Exactly. We'll see how we go through it, and if we have to use Wednesdays to catch up, because the town is probably going to be done next week or the week after. We'll figure it out. Okay, town CIP. Nothing new. There was a lot of discussion yesterday about CIP. There was a lot of discussion about CIP, about the process and why are the numbers, and
Jeff hit all those home run on all those, I would think. Since Jeff's on both committees.
yeah, but there was a lot of discussion about paving, like at least 45 minutes of paving.
We don't have any paving. That's good for us.
All right, wellness. Olympic Games happening soon? Is that why?
Yeah, the Winter Olympics.
Oh, really?
So Tracy at the elementary school.
Nice. That's awesome. Cool. Did not know that. Future Ready Schools, we have not met. Transportation.
Going great. We're not Concord. Our bus didn't burn up in Keene.
Right.
Look, all I say is
Keep on trucking.
just happy that
Keep
all
on
that
trucking.
happened. Great. I'm glad it didn't happen to us. But it could always. But yeah, we're doing good.
I just knocked on wood.
All right. New Hampshire School Board Association.
Yeah, Angela and I were on it. Were you guys? Did you guys listen to it at all? I didn't find it super helpful. So if there's another
No.
one that might be more in depth. Oh yeah, which I couldn't do that one. Yeah, that was probably better. But fine.
Is there any more that's going to be coming our way? Because, yeah,
I mean, to be quite honest, they spent, I think, 48, 49 minutes talking about what makes up school districts in SAU.
Throughout the
Oof.
state. They like
Throughout the
describe
state.
like this Manchester is made up of this and
Oh, really?
yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
So,
I was like trying hard to pay attention, but
so I didn't find that real help, like the actual questions or the concept of open enrollment, I feel like they just never got to.
right. But I think like that's what we've been talking about is ever since Dwayne said like back when they had them in person, they were a lot, I don't know, more, what would you say, more informative, more in depth? Like, because I didn't have any of them.
Was useful. It was more obviously detailed. I don't think, if I had to guess, I don't think there's going to be any more just because Kearsarge meets Saturday, right? Yeah, Pembroke's is at the end of the month, so people are starting to have their meetings already.
Oh,
Dodged a bullet there.
Yeah, we did.
Right.
Jen and I took it for you.
Athletic improvements and funding.
No, Mike and I have not met since our last meeting.
I will say, sort of related to this, Jack's super big. Starting on the dugouts in the next week or two.
Oh, nice. Very good.
I think he's gonna be reaching out to you guys about that.
Oh boy. Well, good.
Is that okay?
That's fine. Anytime he wants to do it.
Right, that's what he figured.
Anytime.
No, nothing going on down there.
You
He's
can
got a
pour
little
like
lull in his
concrete and
job.
stuff in the winter.
He doesn't need to with the girls. The base is fine. They're actually pretty big dugouts. They're rotten. The wood's rotten. So he just has to rebuild those. The boys may have to do it alone.
what is he building it out of? Just pressure treated wood? Could we make it out of like tracks or anything like composite?
It's up to our
No.
contractor.
Oh, well, it would, but I wonder like how much more.
These are
Oh,
really cheap. I mean, the amount of money we've allocated to it, to me, is not a lot of money. So I can't imagine he's going to be able to go with the Cadillac version.
No, he wouldn't. But he was like, I feel like I'm gonna make him look really nice. Probably in a lot, but it's fine.
Well, that works.
yeah.
It'll be good. But he's got some. He finally got some time, so he's like,
Tax write-off.
Cool. Booster Club.
Trucking along with winter sports, basketball, wrestling, hockey.
Nice. Awesome. Great. Moving on, one last time, public comment. Shocker. All right, board open comment, bottom lines. You guys got anything?
I have a bottom line.
Oh,
This is for you, Martin.
oh dear.
The last board chair was not nearly as efficient as this current chair, Mr. Osterloh, is. And it is very impressive how you run these meetings. Keep up the good work. It's
He's
awesome
German.
job.
He's
Awesome
German.
job.
That's how he's
I
going
would
to do
second
it.
that.
Thank you. Thank you.
No knock to the old chair. He was amazing too.
Meander.
But just a
around.
little more lengthy. That's all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I
I
appreciate that.
think they want to let you chair again. Although that isn't
And I'm up for election. Who knows if I'm being elected?
Are you going to run again?
Maybe. That's right. Not on camera. All right. Anybody else have bottom lines? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All those in